As I rode up to the ski lift, I started to lose my confidence. I wasn't ready yet. As soon as I got off the lift, momentum carried me to the top of the hill, and I involuntarily started going down the slope. So I just did my best to stay on my feet all the way down the hill, and I did. Barely. The past 2 weeks in class have been a lot like that ski hill. Momentum and passion compelled me to start this experiment, but sheer survival is the only thing keeping me on my feet. This is far more challenging than I had ever anticipated. Jackie and Margaret aren't completely on board with the experiment, but the other students seem to be cooperating. Martin loves all the data he's collecting. I think Annie may have even made a few friends. But there is something else that I didn't anticipate that has threatened to knock me off my feet. Something I never would have guessed on my own.
And in summary, I thought he seemed very thoughtful, introspective, and moody. But at other times, he acts rationally and does things based on impulse.
Yeah, you seem like a pretty confused guy to me.
That's a very good analysis, Fletcher. For years, scholars have looked at Hamlet as one of the most complex and enigmatic characters of all time.
Like I said, confused.
Yes, well, Hamlet does spend a lot of his play probing the deeper questions in life. What are some of the questions that Hamlet raises? Becky?
Well, it seems like Hamlet has a lot of questions about life and death, and whether or not life is worth living if it's so miserable.
That is true. Frederick?
Well, I haven't finished the whole play yet, but when my character is stabbed, does he actually die, or is he just pretending?
Yes, he actually dies. Practically everybody dies except Horatio.
Yes, that's me!
That's disappointing. I was hoping he would come back and become a more prominent character.
Well, at least you got a real character. I'm playing the ghost.
It could have been worse, Clarence. You could have been playing the skull. And that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I actually smiled.
Wait, the skull doesn't have any lines, does it?
No, the skull is just a prop that Hamlet talks to. That's what makes it funny.
I don't get it.
As we've discussed before, every role is important to tell the whole story. Now, any other questions? Carmen?
What I don't seem to understand is why none of these questions really seem to get answered. Even in the end, you're not sure if justice was achieved. Why did Shakespeare do that?
Well, perhaps he wanted his audience to leave the theater and think about the themes of Hamlet after the play was over. Martin?
I agree with you, Miss Ives. I do think Hamlet wanted his audience to be introspective, but I don't think all the questions Hamlet raises can be answered. They have to do with spiritual and metaphysical matters, areas where we don't have enough data to draw definite conclusions.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
That is one of the reasons science is so amazing. They're constantly making new discoveries, and it's almost impossible to say anything is certain. And if the laws of science can sometimes be bent, how much more the areas of metaphysics and the supernatural as well.
Data and science in the middle of a discussion on Hamlet. You two can't help yourselves, can you? Yes, Annie?
I think Martin has a good point.
How so?
Well, this play seems to struggle a lot with truth. The characters are trying to figure out who is telling the truth, what truly happened, what is a person's true motive. And through it all, truth does seem to be elusive.
That is a very good thought. You say it is elusive. Do you think the truth actually exists? And if so, can it be known?
Oh, please.
Is something wrong with her?
Nothing that an app wouldn't fix.
I take it you aren't enjoying this discussion.
Not to be disrespectful, Miss Ives, but I don't think this Shakespeare guy knew anything about real people.
Why do you say that?
Did you actually read this play before choosing it?
Yes, I did. Many times.
Well, it isn't realistic, and there are so many lines. There's this one part where two guys are angry, and they proceed to argue for 2 front-to-back pages. Completely unrealistic. Normally, someone would have thrown a punch after page 1.
Boys, of course they wouldn't understand Shakespeare.
I understood it, Carmen. I just said that it wasn't accurate. We should have done Romeo and Juliet. Much better choice. Right, Jackie?
Well, we can discuss this and other characters more later. Right now, I want to remind you all wrong with you, Annie?
It's okay. It was an accident. Thank you for helping me pick up my things.
It's no problem.
Miss Ives, have you had a chance to go over my paper yet?
I did. I think this paper is really going to help bring your grade up for this class.
That would be wonderful.
I'm surprised you're struggling so much in your other classes. Your homework seems to be excellent.
Yeah, I wish I knew the answer to that too.
I think I may talk to the school therapist and see if you need some more time taking your test. Something isn't adding up right.
Okay. Well, I might bring you some more papers later.
That's fine. And, maybe we can talk about it later on.
Okay, I have to go now. Thank you.
Hello? This is Miss Ives.
Miss Ives, I believe you have a break between classes at this time. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct.
I would like you to come down to my office for a few minutes. I have some materials to go over with you.
Okay, I'll be down there shortly.
I will be waiting.
I wonder what that could be. Hope I'm not in trouble.
You probably are.
Mr. Nelson, I didn't see you there.
Apparently I'm forgettable. Do you know you talk to yourself when you think you're alone?
I guess so.
Well, I would never do that. Which is why I always think you're talking to me.
Yes.
And then you get scared and jump.
I'll try to be more observant from now on. I've really got to go.
Oh, sure. Wouldn't want to keep the great white shark waiting.
Excuse me? The great white shark?
You know, Mr. White. That's what all the kids call him.
No, I didn't know.
Some of these kids aren't as respectful as you might think.
Somehow I'm inclined to agree with them.
Careful, Miss Ives. These rooms are monitored.
Yes, I know. I've got to go, Mr. Nelson.
Miss Ives, have a seat.
Thank you. You said you had some material to go over.
Yes, it's a file of sorts. I've had some disturbing reports from the teachers about the other students' behavior.
That's odd. I found them to be completely cooperative and respectful.
Yes, well, I'll go over that with you in a moment. First, I'd like to hear from you. How's the play going?
It's going fairly well. Many of the students are new to Shakespeare, so they're having trouble appreciating the script, but I believe they'll come around.
Yes, I'm sure they will. I noticed you decided to keep the cast list the same.
Yes, I did. I considered our conversation from before, but I just felt that it would be best if I stuck with my original decision.
I see. How have the other students responded?
They were surprised by my decision, but have been respectful and have decided to go on with the play.
It's an interesting answer. It's not a lie. It's not quite the truth either.
Sorry, Mr. White, I don't know what you mean.
If I were to tell you that I went back in the database, we watched your entire class period over the monitor, would you change your answer?
Mr. White, if you watched my entire class period, why would you even need to ask?
I just wanted to see what you would say.
I see.
As I mentioned before, there have been some reports of students behaving differently. And I believe I've traced it back to your classroom.
I didn't know there was a problem.
No, but you do know our guidelines. I was unnerved, Miss Ives. I've tried my best to explain to you the need for strict observation of school policy in your classroom. When you decided to take matters into your own hands, I felt that in some way our trust had been broken.
That's interesting, Mr. White, since I have felt the exact same way about you in this administration.
Really? Please explain.
I've shared my concerns with you about Annie, and you assured me that everything was being dealt with. As it turns out, nothing has been done.
Miss Ives.
Mr. White, what is the purpose of me marking their behavior? Is it just a scare tactic?
No, it's an effective form of therapy.
Mr. White, if your students never learn consequences for their
Please
choices-
stop. There's more to this than you know.
Well, if you cannot explain it to me, then I can't support this therapy.
I thought you'd say that. And that's why I called you to my office today. May I see your device?
Yes, here you go.
There's a restricted access file I'd like you to read.
Restricted access?
Yes, you may only read this once while you are in this office. And may I remind you of the confidentiality agreement you signed at the beginning of the school year. Any materials you read in this office must not leave this room.
Very well.
Very important, Miss Ives. If you are found disclosing any of this information, you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
I understand.
Very well. Read it carefully.
This is Annie's student file.
Yes, it is.
Why would this be restricted? Most academic counselors have access to students' basic records.
Annie's file is a little more involved. Keep reading. You notice anything unusual?
No, not really. A few per profile categories have been left blank. No birthday, no parents' names. I understand she's in foster care. Is there nothing known about her parents?
Continue reading over this section.
Clinical trial number 062388. Mr. White, does this have something to do with her diabetes?
No.
Subject approved for field test. Annie Irving, serial number 062372, government property. Government property? Mr. White, people aren't property, and the government can't own them.
No, Miss Ives, people are not property. And no, the government cannot own them.
Then what is
Miss
the-
Ives, Annie is not a person, and that is why she can be owned.
What do you mean she's not a person? Are you trying to joke with me? This isn't funny.
Miss Ives, even if I was trying to joke with you, I couldn't create a file like this. No, this is all real.
Well, if she isn't a human, what is she? Some type of robot?
No, she's a living thing, just not a person. She was created in a lab in an undisclosed location.
Is she an animal?
No, we're not sure what to call her. Originally, the government was experimenting with different forms of artificial intelligence. The technology wasn't working quite right. Besides, a bit of a hack. You can't teach a computer-generated machine to reason with a conscience or to relate to somebody with feeling.
So they created Annie.
Yes, and others like her.
Why would they do that?
Why? They place several of them into different classes. They've been experimenting with things like this for years now. And soon they'll be able to make people too. They'll be able to pick and choose different physical traits and personality types they'd like the subject to have. It can completely erase genetically inherited diseases.
But you said Annie isn't human.
Well, she's partly human. She has human elements, but she's missing some key components and the ability to sustain life on her own. For example, she does not actually have diabetes. She's developmentally delayed. Her digestive system is not fully developed, and therefore she must receive her nutrients some other way.
What else did they use to make her?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
You said Annie was only part human. Where did the other parts come from?
I was under the impression they used many of the same elements found in you and me. They just pieced them together and selected the ones they thought would make for the best soldier. But they left out certain components to make the subject not entirely human, and therefore fit for combat.
Fit for combat?
That is the ultimate goal. When it comes to war, there are certain things you cannot ask a soldier to do, as it is unethical. But that does not keep our enemies from doing those very same things. So, we've created a being that looks like a human, can reason like a human, and has human elements.
To do the dirty work.
It's putting it crudely, but yes. It will be an expensive weapon, but a disposable one.
I cannot imagine Annie in combat.
Annie was just a prototype. We're still several years away from the ideal weapon. Annie will never see the battlefield.
Mr. White, I don't understand.
What do you not understand? I'm sure you think it's unethical, but I assure you, it's not.
To say the least.
Miss Ives, I'm sure this makes you uncomfortable, but change often makes us uncomfortable.
Mr. White, I am all for change. But this, as you said, is just completely unethical.
As I said, when it comes to war, there are things that you cannot ask a soldier to do. So it is not unethical.
Mr. White, I'm sorry. What does this have to do with me and this school?
Yes, I was just getting to that. Now, the government issued several of these artificial humans to this school to be used as therapy. We've placed several of them in different classes, and so far they've performed remarkably. Annie has been one of our finest successes.
How does that work?
Annie, as I said, was used as therapy. Now, we try to push our students to be the very best that they can at whatever they decide to do. In every category, our school record is unmatched.
Mr. White, too much competition can be unhealthy.
Yes, we found that to be true. We noticed that some of our students began to turn on one another and to display stunted social skills and deep depression.
They still struggle with social skills, Mr. White.
Yes, I know. We're still working on that. But Annie was brought in as a therapy tool. And she was an outlet for the other students. You see, the other students subconsciously know that no matter how bad they do, there will always be someone worse than them. This frees them from the fear of failure and allows them to focus their energies on success.
But Mr. White, what about the treatment of Annie? Surely you don't want them to be bullies.
No, we don't. And over time, we've learned that the students have learned that they can take their frustrations out on Annie. And as a result, we've not had an issue of a student bullying another student in over a year now.
I'm sorry. What about Annie, though?
What about her?
Does she know she's a... What do you even call her?
We just refer to them as therapy tools. I think the government has some technical name for them. They always just refer to her as a serial number.
Well, does she know she's a tool?
Annie has been raised to believe that she's just like all the rest.
That is cruel.
It's not really. You see, her emotional capacity was stunted in the lab. It was one of the many decisions they made while creating her.
So she can't feel.
Miss Ives, I don't think you're hearing me very well. Annie is not a person, and therefore is not entitled to the same privileges that you and I are. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
However, there is an entire classroom full of human students who need you and who are brilliant. I suggest you take their welfare into your consideration.
I will. I mean, I do. At least I try to.
I believe you do, Miss Ives. And that is why I'm not going to terminate your position. I also will not terminate or make you change the cast list of the play if you feel it is working well for the other students.
I think it is. I really do.
Then it stays.
Thank you.
I am terminating your experiment, however. Effective tomorrow, the students will turn all their research into me, and then go back to the way things were. It's for the best, Miss Ives.
I'm sure you're right. Mr. White, I hope I haven't undone anything. I really thought I was looking out for the students' best interest.
Well, it is a setback, but we will fix it. Just go back to the way things were and do your job. No more standing up for Annie. Let the students decide what to do.
Yes, Mr. White.
Dear Journal, I cried myself to sleep tonight. Hello, Journal. I am so delighted by these students. It has been several days since my conversation with Mr. White. I spent so much time thinking about it that I've even had a few dreams about Annie. But all my worries seem to be for naught. Almost all the students are silently continuing with the experiment. Maybe their views of Annie have changed. Maybe they genuinely like her. Either way, I haven't had to violate my conscience by allowing them to mistreat her. But I haven't forced them to be kind either. I'm so proud of them. The school board meeting was a trial.
Surprise. No. Celebration. No.
It's supposed to be a feeling, an idea, a principle, or viewpoint, Becky.
Well, surprise can be a feeling too.
Freedom?
Victory!
No.
Injustice!
Injustice? This is clearly a happy picture. What does injustice have to do with it?
How do I know the person is a good man? He could be a villain who loves injustice.
Just a few more seconds.
Caring, kind.
Peaceful.
Go, keep trying.
Patience.
Agony!
Delight. Happiness.
No, almost.
Cheerful. Glad.
Prepare!
Joy! Yes, joy, that's it!
Very good. Another point for Fletcher's team. It's going to be a close race to the finish. This is a fun game, Miss Ives.
Yeah, but difficult. I had no idea artists had such a hard job.
I know. I just thought they were making pretty pictures. I didn't know there was supposed to be a point to them or a lesson to learn.
Well, that is how art often works. It tells a story and influences the audience in a subtle way. Now, Jackie, who's up next for your team?
Annie.
Here we go.
Got this, Annie.
Are you ready, Annie?
I guess so.
Go.
It looks like a bunch of squiggles.
Hemoglobin. Adoration.
Leadership.
The sands of time.
No, try again.
The American dream.
It looks like a plate with donut holes on it.
Kurt, not everything has to do with food.
I didn't say that it was, just that it looked like it.
It does have some round things in the middle of something that kind of looks like a plate.
Balls of yarn in a basket.
Tires of landfill.
Pearls and oysters.
White red blood cells?
No.
I still think that it looks like food. Eggs on a plate.
Yes.
Really?
Well, not Bigfoot, but they are eggs.
But what are the other things? Branches? Birds, big birds, and a nest in a tree.
Yes.
I got it! No, not quite. Think about what the picture represents. Time is moving quickly.
Nurturing.
Squawking, noise, crying.
The fragility of our existence.
Nature, saving the planet, ethical treatment of animals.
Close.
Hurry.
Evolution. Survival of the fittest.
No. Little babies.
Helpless, delicate weakness.
Precious, adorable. Just a few more seconds. I can't think without her shouting. Fresh, new, recently born.
Close, Jackie.
Birth, existence, being. I'm sorry. Time is up.
Way to go, Annie. Now we're losing.
I'm sorry. It was a hard one.
I knew she'd drag us down. I want a new teammate. Can we trade her for the next round? Margaret, stop. Stop what? If you want her, you can take her. You can't treat her that way. Actually, I can. And you know it.
Miss Ives?
Fletcher, would your team like to take a guess?
Yes, we would. We would like to guess life.
That is correct. The word is life. Another point for Fletcher's team.
Life? Some birds in a nest represent life.
I don't know. It was the first thing I thought of. Somehow we still guessed it, Margaret.
Yeah, we had all of our guesses to go off of. Okay, everyone, there's still one more turn. Fletcher,
What does it matter? We've already lost.
you don't take losing well, do you?
Oh, none of us do.
Well, this last round is worth 2 points. If Fletcher's team doesn't get it and Jackie's team does, we will end the game tied.
Well, we don't plan on giving Jackie's team the chance.
You know, there is such a thing as a sword winner, too. Go ahead, Fletcher.
Curvy lines? Rock layers? Archaeology? Fossils?
Fletcher, I can't see. Can you move over?
Trying to draw, Carmen.
Is it a real gray?
Or forwards in the sand.
Or dirt? Can you turn your body a little bit to the side?
Nope, I draw better this way. You'll get it right when I'm done. Just give me a minute.
Is it Fulton fabric? No, I think it looks like water.
Time is moving quickly.
Sea monster. Prehistoric water snake.
Fletcher, I'm serious. Could you turn out the way so we can guess while you're
Trying to draw, Carmen.
Is it a duck on the water?
It looks like a sail. Or a boat.
Fletcher, move!
I know what I'm doing, level 2. Leave me alone.
Fletcher! I think I missed something. What just happened? Fletcher! He just insulted Carmen! He did? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
He called her a level 2.
How is that an insult? I thought most of you were level 2.
But not Fletcher, not anymore.
Didn't you hear? He took the test and leveled up after classes yesterday.
He's a level 1 now.
There's no rule about whether you can or cannot take it at any time.
He didn't tell anyone he was going to take him either.
Does that bother you, Martin?
Well, since you didn't feel the need to tell your best friend your plans, I don't feel the need to tell you what I think.
And now he thinks he's better than us.
Oh, I don't just think it, Carmen. I have a test that proves it.
Fletcher, I'm not your behavior.
I just stated a fact.
Herman, are you okay?
No, I'm not. Never had this happen before. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Leave her alone, Annie. What would you know?
Margaret, stop it.
Why? She doesn't matter. In fact, I think this is all somehow her fault.
I was just trying to help.
That's enough. Seriously.
Are you going to mark Margaret's behavior?
No, I'm not. Herman, why don't you take a break and get a drink of water? Jackie, you may accompany me.
Okay, well, thank you.
Fletcher, I marked your behavior because the way you treated Carmen showed a lack of respect.
But she was showing me a lack of respect as well. She was bossing me around.
Yes, but she was just trying to see the board. On the other hand, you were being rude and trying to shake her.
But Miss Ives, it's just Annie. She doesn't deserve any respect. She hasn't earned it.
Annie deserves kindness simply because she exists. Margaret, if you weren't your normal bright self, wouldn't you want someone to still love you?
Well, yes, but I wouldn't expect it.
Margaret, one day I hope you come to understand that people are valuable simply because they have life. But you've got it all turned around. You want to give life to who you think is valuable. You can't truly love someone as long as you're rating someone for worth. That is selfish. You've got it all turned around. One day you're going to see that people are valuable. We all have baggage, as I said before, and Annie is the same as you. She has a life.
You mean she has to be nice? I mean, like, we all have to be nice to Annie, and especially Annie. Really?
Especially. We've had enough competition for one day. Right now, I want you to pull out the poems you worked on. Remember that we will be reading them tomorrow in class. They need to be 2 verses.
Miss Ives, can I please be excused for Mr. Ginny's class?
Absolutely.
We all need to go. Yes, Miss Ives? Are you going to lecture me about what I said?
No, I wanted to congratulate you on passing your test.
Thank you, Miss Ives.
It's a very difficult exam.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think it was the best decision? Do you really think that it wouldn't harm any of your friendships? I mean, you lost your friendship with Martin.
Well, I think he believes that I was using him to help boost my math scores for the level 0, the level 1 exam.
Were you?
I was.
Fletcher, I want to tell you something. You're not valuing the lives around you. As long as you keep looking at people like pieces on a chessboard, you're going to be miserable.
Why?
Because you aren't thinking about the future. You aren't thinking about your plans.
Well, that's reasonable.
I mean,
I know that I've thrown a lot of things out this side.
times. I know I've been rude, I know I've been evil, and I'll think about what you said to me. I want to thank you for all this. I'm sorry. I need to go, Miss Ives. I can be late for my next class.
Excuse me, Miss Ives.
Jennings, what are you doing here?
Well, I didn't need anything, but I came by to see if everything was okay.
Why do you ask?
Well, I passed her students, and they looked like they'd all been given failing grades. Carmen was in the hallway. She looked like she had been crying.
Because she was crying.
What? Carmen doesn't cry. None of them do.
Mr. Jennings, I don't know what to do. One of my students insulted Carmen and she just broke down crying.
What? They never do that. Not to each other anyways. Only to Annie.
And that bothers me too. How can you teach her for so long and stand it?
Stand what?
The way they treat Annie. Don't you think it's wrong?
Well, I don't like it. But what can I do? We've been told to leave her alone.
Do you know why they pick on her? What have they told you?
Not much. But I know she's different. And what they're doing is legal.
But it isn't ethical.
Well, that may be. But it doesn't mean you can do anything to change it. We can't force our views on them.
Why not? They're forcing their views on us and on the students.
I think you need to calm down. You're overreacting a little bit.
I don't understand. Why am I the only one that sees this as a problem here?
You need to keep your voice down. You've already raised enough suspicion with that little experiment that you tried earlier this year.
You know about that?
Everyone knows about that.
Oh dear.
Look, I don't like the way they're treating her either, but it's not my place to step in.
Balderdash!
Mr. Nelson! Why do you always do that?
I'm not doing anything. You're just jumpy because you got a guilty conscience.
I do not!
I assume you're talking about Annie.
It is none of your business.
I thought so. That poor little girl's been suffering in this school for years. What have you done about it? Nothing.
That is not true. I do not mistreat her, and I encourage the other teachers to do the same.
Poppycock. If you don't stand up for her, it's the same as mistreatment.
Listen, it is their right. It is their choice, and I respect their right to choose.
Even if their choice doesn't respect Annie.
This conversation is pointless. It's not like we can do anything about it anyways. Our hands are tied. We can't even talk about it or raise awareness. Do you want to go to jail? For what purpose? It wouldn't accomplish anything.
There must be something we can do. To someone whom we can appeal.
Listen, I need to go now before I get into trouble. If you two do think of anything, do not involve me. I am set to retire soon.
Each morning I wake, I rise to seek what wisdom I can find. I always search for different ways
Mr. White,
Miss Ives,
what do we owe the pleasure of this surprise?
I was informed that one of your students received a mark yesterday. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct.
In light of this incident, I thought it'd be best if I sat in on today's class.
Very well. We have 2 more poems once Martin is finished, but you are more than welcome to stay. Martin, go ahead and finish.
But if all the knowledge in the world I have one day attained, what in the end of this short life have I truly gained?
Thank you. Really, class, I'm impressed at how well you're doing with all of these poems.
sun fades away as the day starts to end. The soft rays of color come out once again. As I gaze at the view, my thoughts run deep, reflecting on the moments and memories I'll keep. The sun goes away, yet brings warmth to my soul. The red, orange, and pink with their soft, fiery glow. Watching the sunset, my pain fades away, for it marks the beginning of a new, brighter day.
Thank you. Yes, wasn't that beautiful, Miss Ives?
Yes, Becky, I agree. Annie, you really know how to express your emotions.
Thank you, Miss Ives.
You're all dismissed. Mr. White,
I assume you know why I'm here.
because Fletcher's behavior was marked yesterday.
Yes. And because when I reviewed your class period on the monitor, I saw you stand up for Annie in direct violation of school policy.
Mr. White, I had to.
Really? Please explain.
I don't agree with what you're doing here. Annie has feelings. You hurt her.
Your empathy is blinding you from the truth. How many times do I have to tell you? Annie cannot sustain life on her own. If she was not created in the lab, and we were not sustaining her at this very moment, she would not exist.
Mr. White, we were all helpless at some point. You'll be helpless again. Are you completely self-sufficient?
Of course I am.
But you weren't always that way. At some point, you'll need someone to choose you.
It's not the same.
Yes, it is, Mr. White. Annie,
Listen to yourself. You're abandoning reason. Annie is not a person. She is a monster, a thing created in the lab by scientists.
she's a mirror.
What?
Somehow Annie has the ability to bring to the surface what is in people's hearts. You see a monster, Mr. White, because you are one.
That's enough.
I'm sorry. I just care very passionately about this.
What is your second reason for this mutiny?
I care about the other students.
No, you absolutely do not. Didn't you see what happened? Fletcher lashed out at Carmen because you took his outlet away from him.
No, Mr. White, you're wrong. You are responsible for Fletcher's actions.
Me? Are you out of your mind?
No, I'm not. You and this whole school system enabled him to do it. Don't you see? Fletcher was trained to look down upon Annie because she was always beneath him. But now that he's the best, everyone has become like Annie in his eyes.
Nonsense.
Sorry.
You think this is true?
It is. I do. And Mr. White, Fletcher doesn't value his life or the lives around him. This is why I cannot sit idly by. Once you sacrifice one student's life, you're sacrificing them all.
Enough! I'm sure these sentiments come out of a genuine desire to do the right thing, but you are in way over your head and you are wrong. You will be meeting before the school board tomorrow, and I suggest you work in a more unpretentious attitude before then. Good day, Miss Ives.
Miss Ives?
Fletcher, where did you come from?
I was waiting at home. I wanted to talk to you.
Yes, what did you need?
I know I shouldn't have, but I listened to the whole conversation.
Fletcher, you shouldn't have.
Is it true, Miss White? Is it true, Miss Ives, what Mr. White said? True?
I cannot discuss this right now, Fletcher. I really can't.
I thought you might say that. Miss Ives, I never thought that I would say this, but I think what Annie read was truly beautiful, and I'm jealous that I can't write that way. I still can't believe that she wrote that.
Annie would have a lot of surprises if people would just give her a chance.
But no one wants to give her a chance. And if that is the case, Miss Ives, then it is wrong.
Yes, it is. Now, what did you need?
I just tell you that I thought about what you said earlier, and I think that you may be right. I apologized to Carmen today.
Wow, Fletcher, that's great.
And I'm hoping Martin will study for his level 1 exam.
Fletcher, I'm so proud of you. I'm more proud than when you passed the level 1 exam.
I do feel better too.
Good.
Now, about Annie,
Fletcher,
what can I do?
I don't know. Learn, I guess. Learn and never let anything like this happen ever again. Fletcher, they've taken away Annie's voice, so maybe you can speak for her.
The school board meeting was a trial of sorts. I knew it would be. I presented my opinions and thoughts. They lectured me about the long-term benefit of their therapy and asked me to keep my opinions to myself.
We would like to remind you that you are bound by law to uphold school policy as long as you are employed by Montrose High.
You are also obligated to keep the proceedings of this meeting confidential, as well as all the information shared prior to this meeting.
Miss Ives, thank you for sharing with us. Your passion is admirable, even if it is misguided.
But really, this is not your area of expertise. You are not qualified to give direction to this board.
Your argument is flimsy and based on sentiment rather than solid research.
I'm sorry you cannot appreciate what we're doing here. This innovative treatment will revolutionize the educational system. The benefits will far outweigh these temporary glitches.
And I believe Mr. White has already shared with you the asset this research and technology will be to our military.
Really, Miss Thomas, I'm surprised at you. Look at how many lives will be improved or saved altogether because of this advancement. How can you try to stop it in good conscience?
Annie is a necessary sacrifice for the greater good. If you really valued people, you would understand.
Without this school or the government, Annie would be nothing. As it is, she plays an important role in the success of this society. It is a noble profession, really.
Miss Ives, this is a prestigious scholastic community. We brought you on board here because we believed you to be a leader in your field and thought you would be an asset to our school. We appreciate your innovative thinking, but right now, what we need from you is support.
Simply do your job, and that will be serving the students far more than finding answers to the questions you are raising.
In light of recent developments, we believe it would be best to suspend the play altogether.
Oh, you disagree?
Yes. At the very least, Miss Ives, we insist upon you recasting the play. Annie Irving must not be allowed to participate in the production.
You see, we believe that the other students have already suffered enough delay in their development. Whereas Annie was once a tool for growth, she has now become a distraction, hindrance.
Yes, we would not want to cause any further setbacks to their progress.
And it is with regret that I must inform you that your position with this school is very precarious at the moment.
If the rest of the school year concludes without incident, we will allow your work to be reviewed by the board.
Depending on our findings, you may be allowed to continue.
But, as I'm sure you can understand, if we're informed of any more episodes of this nature, your position will be terminated.
We regret having to take this course of action, but you are really leaving us
No choice.
Dear Journal, today I'm going to recast the play. I had a short, private conversation with Annie beforehand. She still doesn't know why she's different or why the administration treats her unlike the other students, but I'm afraid she's catching on.
Hello, students. I have an announcement to make this morning. I have been informed by the administration that the play cannot continue as is.
But I was just starting to understand my lines.
What happened, Miss Ives? Did we do something wrong?
Are we going to do another play?
Because if we are, I suggest Romeo and Juliet.
Actually, we will be continuing There will only be minor adjustments. They just wanted to make sure that everyone gets to audition for the part they really want. So please sign up for the roles that you would really like to play in the play. Is everyone finished?
Almost. I think we're all done now, Miss Ives.
You've all filled this out?
I believe so, Miss Ives.
I'm pretty sure I was the last one. Why has no one filled out for the role of Ophelia?
Well, I didn't sign up because I'm not a woman.
Well, me too. That I like being one of the only characters in this story who gets to live.
That explains half the class. What about the other half, the girls? Jackie?
Well, I'm really starting to like Gertrude, and she has more lines anyways.
Carmen?
I just don't want it.
No one else?
I'd rather relate than be on stage.
Honestly, Miss Ives, I think the reason that no one wants the role is because, well, it's Annie's role. She's doing such a great job, and we can't picture anyone else as Ophelia.
Really?
Yes, really. It's no from Annie.
Where is she?
She was called into the office during first class.
Is everything all right?
I don't know. She didn't look great, but I'm thinking maybe it was just her diabetic monitor.
Thank you. I'll review this later. So, class, I want to talk to you all about the revised class list. I'm sorry. Mr. White?
Miss Ives. Students, I know you just arrived at class. I'm going to dismiss you for a 5-minute break. Please feel free to use the facilities and get a drink of water. Be back here in 5 minutes.
Go, class. Take a break.
Miss Ives, this is Mr. Fraser, head of security.
Miss Ives.
I assume you know why I'm here.
You're here to dismiss me.
Correct. School board made it very clear. The failure to comply with the set guidelines would result in your immediate termination of your position.
Mr. White, I have complied with the set guidelines.
Would you mind explaining to me why the cast list remains the same then?
Mr. White, I left it up to the students. No one would take it.
Did you lecture them and make them feel guilty about auditioning for the part?
Mr. White, you and I both know you were watching this class period over the monitor. I didn't coerce the students at all.
Nevertheless, you were told to change the cast list, and you did not comply.
You told me to leave it up to the students, and I did. No one would take the role.
That was before you started messing with their emotions and destroying everything we've worked to build. We're wasting time. Gather some of your things. Mr. Fraser will escort you to a vehicle.
Come along, Miss Ives.
Very well.
Where's Miss Ives?
She needed to leave.
What?
Please have a seat.
Is she just out for the day? When is she coming back?
I will explain to everyone once they are all back. Now please take your seat. Very good. We've all returned in a timely fashion. Now, as some of you have already noticed, Miss Ives is no longer here. Due to some unforeseen and unfortunate circumstances, she will no longer be your teacher. However, she wishes you the best, and we wish her the same. She was a talented woman, and I look forward to seeing what else she may accomplish. Yes.
So, you fired her. Why?
Young man, if I felt the need to share anything more with you, I certainly would have. Yes?
Who will be your teacher now?
You have a substitute teacher until the position can be filled. I will be supervising today. Yes?
Do you know where Annie is? She hasn't been here all day.
Annie is feeling fine. She's been relocated to a different school.
And it has nothing to do with her being a lab experiment.
What did you say?
Annie is some sort of therapy test, right? And it didn't work, so you're sending her away.
Did you hear all this from Miss Ives? I assure you, you cannot believe everything she's told you. She was very suspicious of a lot of things, none of which are substantiated.
No, sir. I did not hear it from her.
Then who?
I heard it from you. After class last week, when you were lecturing Miss Ives. Is it true? Was Annie an experiment?
Students, it is true. Annie was used as a form of therapy, but I cannot disclose all of the information with you. But I will say this, she was not a regular person.
She seemed regular enough to me.
She was partly human. She was unable to sustain life on her own. But we will discuss all of this later when this has all been cleared up. For now, take out your devices and start working on homework. Yes, you need to be excused.
No, but I do have something to say.
Very well.
I'm diabetic.
I see. And?
I can't sustain life on my own either. And if that's the reason Annie was kicked out, then I don't think I want to stay here.
I assure you, the situation is quite different. Now please, have a seat.
Annie's note was precious. It said that she was going to miss me, and she thanked me one more time for being kind to her. But then it said,
Miss Ives, I think I'm ready to answer your question. I wasn't sure before, but now I am. I think I'm strong.
And just like that, Annie was gone out of our lives. A blazing sunset whose embers still color the night sky. I tried to do some follow-up to see where she had gone, but they had said she had been reassigned. We all know what that means. In the weeks that followed my dismissal, Fletcher went to a local news station and became a whistleblower. The public outrage was so overwhelming, they closed down the school. I don't think people were as upset about Annie as they were concerned that experimental therapy was being used on their own children. Studies are being done on former graduates of Montrose High to see how they're adjusting to life. Not surprisingly, initial reports show dysfunctional social skills and bursts of anger. There is a part of me that feels a little lighter, like the burden I have been carrying has been lifted. The truth has gotten out and the school is closed, but I worry for our world. If this has been done once and so many people thought it was a good thing, what is to stop it from being done again? And whether we want to admit it or not, we're all like Annie at some point in our lives. Some live in extreme poverty or have a disability of some kind. But all of life has value, even if it doesn't seem like a valuable life. From the womb to the grave, we are dependent on one another. Someone must choose us. And I know one thing. I'm glad glad someone chose me.
Goodness, Mr. Jennings has thought I'd forgotten about him.
Levels unstable. Please remedy.
Father, always at the worst times.
Levels stable.